of Kowloon and Hong Kong, and that was something. The heat was formidable. It was almost 98 at 7 o'clock in the morning that day. We had a good breakfast. We had a tour of the incredible shopping district of Hong Kong. It's hard to describe it here. I hope I can do justice to it in print in my notes. The shops contain every known thing in the world, mostly exported from Japan or imported from Japan, and many United States stuff, and all at rock bottom prices because, of course, of the no tax. Well, I bought myself a Nikon camera, which sells in the States for something like up to $400 to $300, and we got the whole works for $70, and it's a magnificent, real professional camera, beautiful. And I've taken some great colored slides with it. I know you'll enjoy seeing them. I'm going to save them, though. I hate to send them home. Maybe I'll send them home all in one batch. I don't know yet. I'll see. Anyway, instead of sending pictures home, I'm sending home some Kodacolor pictures that Andy and I are taking. They're just the prints. But the slides, I'm afraid they might get damaged or something. I don't know. Anyway, we took off at 12:15, BOAC again, the next day, after our shopping tour and lunch, to Singapore, where we'd lay over for only half an hour then and 45 minutes, and then go on to KL, Kuala Lumpur. When we flew over, I have my notes here, we flew over the west of Hainan Island. Oh, and of course, before I go on, I must tell you that there's a bridge we passed in Kowloon, and the other end of the bridge are the Chinese troops, the Red China. And I got some good pictures of Red China from my, it's right across the street practically, and right across the bay, and of Macau, the fabulous Sin City, you know, which is on the other side. I got some pictures of that from the plane going over. And also of Hainan, which is of course now in red hands as well. Then our plane went on and we passed over Vietnam, Binh Dinh, the capital of Vietnam. I took pictures of that from the plane. Then we were about 60 miles west of Saigon, also over Vietnam, and passed over the outskirts of that. We finally hit the coast of Malaya to Johor Bahru, which is the southern tip of Malaya, a little bit west of the island of Singapore, which is the very end, you know. We were 35,000 feet at 1 o'clock, Hong Kong time. I photographed, too, some coral reef islands in the South China Sea, which rise and fall as the volcanoes whim and the coral reef whim goes. They sink and rise, and they're beautiful. They're pale green with gold rims, and they stick up out of the South China Sea. The cloud, we passed into a thunderstorm near Hainan, which was glorious. See, the kids loved it, looking at it, you know. And I had a friend, Mr. Conley from Ottawa, who was an old China hand and told us a lot about Kuala Lumpur, where we were going to go, and the Far East. Very interesting talking to him. We sighted Malaya, the whole business, at 3:25 Hong Kong time, and arrived there at 2:15 Singapore time. So get that straightened out. It was 90 degrees. That was cool for Singapore. We stopped for 45 minutes, took pictures of the kids in the airport. We took off at 3 o'clock for Kuala Lumpur, and we arrived there in the capital of Malaya, the Federation of Malaya, at 1600 hours. We were met by Mary Ruth Buchanan, who is the Assistant Cultural Affairs Officer, and a Malay assistant named Mr. Bashir, who is of Indian extraction. And as we drove along, it's a fabulously green country, Malaya. It's so beautiful. Everything is, you know, lush, bigger than life size. The trees they're all flower-bearing trees, and they all grow to monstrous proportions. There isn't anything small about the foliage, the flora and fauna of Malaya. Everything grows boom, like everything happens violently here, except the people move slowly in the heat. The people are not violent moving, but the vegetation is. It seems to grow in front of your eyes, literally. I was rocked by the Chinese women and girls who do all the construction work, literally. They build the roads. They're the coolie girls. They build roads. They build buildings. The big modern buildings that are going up in Kuala Lumpur are all built by these women. They were all tiny little thin-waisted girls, incredible-looking people. And they also, female vanity, not to be, outdone, they wear great big hoods under their coolie hats and mittens. And I asked one of them why it was this, and of course it was to keep the sun off their hands, because in the Far East they think we're out of our minds to darken our lovely white skins. The ideal is to be white. The whiter the better. So the Chinese hate to get a tan. Well, we finally arrived at the Hotel Merlin after a half-an-hour drive from the airport, and the Merlin is just a New York hotel. It's a fabulous hotel. All air-conditioned, marvelous service, wonderful meals, and really great. So our introduction to Kuala Lumpur was really very, very nice. And the whole country we found anomalous, from shanties to 14-story buildings to female street laborers and beggars to college-bred young people and houseboys with IQs of 140, and the main strains being Chinese, Malay, and Indian, all called Malayans, but very nationalistic, each of them in their own right. And the Chinese run the businesses. This is a great generality for you now. The Chinese are the business people. The Malays run the government, and the Indians are sort of the scholars. And all have their separate, distinct religions, their separate ethnic groups, their separate little ghettos they live in. Anyway, that is how we arrived in Kuala Lumpur, the state of Selangor, in the Federation of Malaya. End of tape 1.